So let's see. So last time we encountered a bunch of issues that I'm not too proud of. I did kind of like made some progress. So one issue that we were facing was that WASM logs were not coming. So thankfully they are coming now. Now this is very peculiar. Why were they not coming and why are they coming now is not absolutely clear to me. Um, One thing I'm doing is I'm using my local checked out version of FTSDK, not the published version, right? So, uh, yeah. And the reason for why I'm using local checkout is because I've got like this checked out. So I've got some local changes. So I have actually created a PR with the local changes. Um, the most fundamental change that I have done, other than adding log statements, is that if the data is string, I think ideally you shouldn't need to know. This is a bit of an internal detail. What I've done itself is I'm not too proud of. This is kind of like an hack, and I'm also using a modified version of fastn right now, so you can ignore these changes. But the most fundamental difference is that we are handling post slightly better. So till now we were not really handling post body properly, right? So that's why we were getting body null error. So this is the fundamental change I have done. There are a few other changes with respect to how I'm sending data. Um, so this is still not right. There is so like for example, the most interesting problem value is that why are we sending string? Everything is going to backend. I mean, yeah, as string when it should have gone through its own proper type, right? So if you look at this value, this is because we are getting the value using. If you look at this get value, it is actually yeah. Let's not go into this. So obviously this should have used the proper type, and it is not using proper type. It is returning string, so we have to wrap it over string, and that's the counterpart we are doing here, and handling when the data is of the type of string. So this is um, so end result is that we support post now. So let's look at what is happening. So I am using my local fastn. So for this to work, for now you'll have to use fastn with this branch or the corresponding PR. We will probably get it merged by Monday or Tuesday max and create a new release, so you don't have to worry about it. I just want to test some more before we can create a release. And yeah, so I'm using local fastn. So and actually also kind of like right. So in one statement, we are doing a build wasm and then copying the backend to the current folder and running fast and serve. So here we are. And now, if you look at our code, this is our function populate TOC, which is called from over here. So the main thing that I have changed is key method post is now allowed. Earlier we were sending it using query parameter. So I've changed from query parameter back to required, right? So we are doing it kind of. So this is what you're supposed to have used from day one, and the query was a hack. Query parameter. The problem with the query parameter was obviously query parameters have some size limit. So had this data crossed a certain size, we would have had a problem. Also, the query parameters are all strings, whereas this guy handles any type. So in this case, we are expecting this Oh yeah. By the way, this is a very curious thing. So we are using Rust nightly. If you have if you check out this thing, so we are using Rust nightly, and the reason for that is because we use this syntax. So this syntax is actually only allowed in nightly right now. So if you want to learn more about this, this is the think somewhere I mentioned. Yeah, so we are using this feature called ADT const param. So if you check out this, um, right, so it allows you to use a const value in your type. So as you see, uh, mm, anyways, it's very cryptically described. Bottom line is कि this particular syntax that you see, uh, right, where you can pass an actual string in the type, right? So we are putting a static string, which is a constant basically, and in the type, right? So this means we don't have to tell you which field is in the type. Uh, anyways, so so what we have done so far, and obviously the logs are coming properly. So if we do this curl, now you'll see that there are a lot of wasm logs. So we can now properly, how do I say, we get rid of a bunch of these log statements. They're too noisy. So I put those log statements, most of them in handler. Just get rid of them. Let's see what else are we getting here. Handler required. This is coming from this guy, which is required. So in required, I have put a lot of log statement because this is what I was. So I'll just commenting out so that in future, ideally we should use tracing, etc., so that we can selectively switch on and off these log statements. Now that we don't do this print, Rust will complain that this lid binding is not needed. Okay. So we'll use this and we will run this command. This time we'll have less log statements, hopefully. So right now, the only interesting log is coming from over here, which is perfect. So this is what we wanted to log any which ways, and things are good. We don't need this type anymore. This was just for whatever. So we are generally good. I have no idea why is my editor not. This is definitely a used value. I think I might close this and repopulate it. I don't know, my editor cache has gone to whatever. Okay, so we can. So let's do a recap. So our page was to, our job was to build this page, which is here, right? And so the data for this page is coming from the original FTD file, which is over here. So as you see, introduction 123, 1 to S. So introduction 1 to S. So it's all coming from the FTD file. We are passing the data to the backend. over here. Now, obviously, this line is not absolutely brilliant. This line should have worked. It's not working, so that's another bug that we'll hopefully fix. But everything else about this is close to how we wanted things to be. Right? So we create some temporary data, TOC uninitialized, and then we create the final data, TOC, final variable, sorry, which is created using the output of the JSON, which is returned by this API. And we pass this fellow, and we pass this URL and method. Maybe we should put them. Obviously, these variables are special, URL and method, and TOC is like your variable. So maybe we should have some sort of, we can do something like this, but it's just uglier. I don't know. The thing is key. One of the most important thing is key over here to notice is key. The syntax of, in fact, this entire processor feature. We are hopefully trying to go. We'll be replacing it in the 0.5 version. In the 0.5 version, this code will become equivalent to a function call. And let's see. Let's see how the final version would look like. So we have to pass mm, this one possibility. So that's the beautiful thing. We are looking at the syntax. Yeah, we can use this. Yeah, and then we pass this, and we'll just use the URL method, or maybe http.post, and something like this. So, and obviously this would also work. Right, so these two syntaxes, or a variation. If this whole thing fits in a single line, you can obviously use that also. Right. Obviously, because we need app URL funda, so we have to do this app URL also. App is equal to let's teach. Obviously, this many apps, this many parameters. This is the cleanest looking one. Yeah. So either we'll use this. This curly will jump to the function f script, or we will use the dollar, which will be for quick expression. So if you have integer x 10, integer y 20, integers yeah, so you want to use something like this. uh, Actually this might be this, right? So you can, basically the syntax is going to be either dollar, so all three of them, so dollar x or dollar of something, or just curly. I think this curly should be enough. Why do I put dollar? So dollar should only be used for x scenario. This is just a shorthand. We can always use this. Maybe we never use dollar. Anyways, these are the syntax. These bits we are deciding what we'll do in the 0.5. So bottom line in 0.5, let's pretend, let's write the one that I like the most. Let's say this is what I like the most. Will be the syntax. And there the semantics would be obviously, because this is uh, this output TOC is dependent on this input TOC uninitialized. And currently this TOC uninitialized is a mutable variable. But had it been a non-mutable variable, so non-mutable variables are indicated with this dollar. So, so had it been a mutable variable, the expectation would be that every time this TOC uninitialized changed, this TOC variable will be reinitialized by calling this function once again, right? So this is the reason we are changing from this to this. Yeah, this is the reason we are getting rid of processor. So implication is that it processes whatever, don't go by the name, but it processes the variable at the page load only, whereas this is just a vanilla function. So we will be able to do any kind of stuff here, and auto change would be there. Oops, my editor seems to have gone really crazy. Okay, let me bring this index, this thing back, and method post. Okay, let's verify everything is still working, and it is perfect. So the last bit of data, as we saw, is coming from the backend. It looks like something is wrong with my. I will kill this CLAN and start again. Go away. It's gone. So let's see. So wow, we have spent 17 minutes already in this live stream. So let's let's do the real next job, right? What do we want to do next, right? So the public TOC is good. I am going to do one thing. I'm going to commit this change, even though this change only works against these branches that I mentioned. Oh my god, it will take forever to open all these projects and then index them. Right. So let's see what all have we changed. One is we have changed from FT to FTSDK for published version to this local version, and then I have added I've switched from query to required. So this is the how it should have been. I've added a print statement. I've gotten rid of this Saturday double parsing. We moved it inside, gotten rid of some random stuff, and I've added method post. So things are correct. Okay, let's push it to the server and start real work. So, what is the real work? The real work is still whatever. It's funky. The real work is to change the status, right? So now, how will that work, right? Because the status is per, so we get this input. We are obviously not going to append anything here. So this is obviously kind of uh, not what we are going to do. And our job is to go through this TOC and let's say, let's call it. So actually, we can do it like this. We can say IMPL entry, and we can have a function called fixed status and mute self, and this is all garbage. So I'll just put a to do here. And one thing we could have done is uh, for right? So we could have done this, and yeah, right, that's basically what we want to do, right? We want to um, fix the status. Now, what the problem is key, if you are going to do this via an SQL statement. So if inside this fixed status, if you make an SQL statement, we'll end up doing it, you know, uh, n number of times. So n number of SQL statements will be executing, which I obviously am not fond of. Other thing which is missing here is that there might be like, who is it for, right? So obviously, this is the status of the learner. So for every learner, the status would be different. So how do we know which learner is making this HTTP request? So we are going to get that via that basically largely two mechanisms. Either one is key we are using let's auth, in which case we will be able to fetch the currently logged in user. So this is how we do that. So let's say we have a myself fellow. I've created this myself fellow. The job of that myself fellow is to create this maybe me. So maybe me is the maybe me here. So I create this maybe me struct in either project. Here I needed to know UD who is the currently logged in data. If there is a user logged in, then this fellow would be available to us. And for this fellow, we will get either the user's ID, the identity, which is mostly their username, their name, email address, email is verified or not, and so on, right? So we'll get this bit of data. But uh, yeah, so that's one way to do that. So that is one way to do that. Uh, and so basically, I'll tell you why I'm not thinking of that is the only way. Why are we saying that is one way? Is because in the first version that we are going to build right now, that is what we are going to do. We are going to activate Let's Auth in our project so that the user has an opportunity to create an account and log in, which will do all of that. It's kind of like already done because all you have to do to activate auth is to add the. Oh, it's not done. Perfect. Oh, it's done. So let's auth is already there in this. So that's all you have to do, right? You have to add this dependency called let's auth, and then you have to add this URL. So this is already done. So we can totally rely on the auth, but and how to get the auth currently logged in user, as you saw, this is the code, right? So this guy is the main guy. So you can just call this function, passing it the session cookie, right? So there is a session cookie and whatever. So you get the cookie and blah blah. So, and I think in the FDSDK there is also probably a it should have been okay. That's another one. We could create a extractor for this guy. So I'm actually confused. Why do we not already have it? That's kind of oversight. Anyways, so that's how we'll do auth, and we'll see that. But before we go there, I want to just remind you tomorrow we are going to also have a let's. So let's teach is what you're doing. Let's learn is the other counterpart. So I will be installing, or rather the learner will be installing Let's Learn on their site. And then coming to the teacher site and entering their Let's Learn URL, which is basically their website. So let's say amityu.com is the learner, and let's say fastn.com is the teacher, right? So Amityu is learning fastn. In that scenario on fastn.com, I in that page where the book page, there would be we'll add some sort of login button, and that login it will not be just login button. It will be like uh, enter your let's learn button, enter your let's learn button, and or whatever. So we'll figure out the names. That's the city that we'll be writing. When you click on it, it will ask you Either you can do either of the two things. Either you can create an account on fastn.com. I mean, if you don't have your own site, you can still create a fastn account, and afterwards you can come and connect your Let's Learn URL with that account, right? And then that will move all the data from local to that. So where the data is getting stored, right? So we do not currently have a table, so we are going to create our own table, and for now we will store. So we'll get rid of all of this, and we'll create our table now. So what are we going to create, right? So we'll add this once we actually have a documentation. So we are going to create a table, right? If not exists, why am I adding this back? ID, we should have an ID. So what would be the table called? It'll be called, let's say, let's teach. Now what we need to store here is UC, user concept, right? So this is the first table we are going to create. So it will contain, I'll get rid of this explanation for now. This is the user. Now, obviously, if the learner is, so we are saying it is not null, meaning that user must already always be here. So even in Let's Teach, how do we do? The simplest way, see, so when Let's Teach is talking to Let's Learn, right? So Let's Learn is installed on amityu.com. Let's Teach is installed on fastn.com. So when fastn.com is talking to Amityu, uh, it is basically a open ID like situation, right? Ki I'm authenticating on fastn.com using amityu.com, right? Like I'm basically telling Amityu fastn.com ki who are you? Instead of picking a username, I'm saying ki I am so and so. So basically, our Let's Auth fellow itself should support that mode of authentication, where your authentication happens through either site. So instead of picking a username, you put your domain name, right? And then instead of putting a password, etc., I will just redirect you to that domain name the way OAuth supposed to was supposed to work. And then bottom line is key. I will we will handle that site to site authentication as part of Let's Auth. And if it is already handled part of Let's Auth, a user ID would be there. So even whether you are amityu.com or not, the user ID would be there. And so that's what we'll go ahead with. And we will get rid of these other stuff created, and we will see. Now we probably need created ad. We probably also need updated ad. Updated at, and we need this comma. Okay, what else do we need? So we need to know the user, and we need to know the concept and the status. So this is a we will use this. So this double semicolon is the comment character. So this line would be actually eliminated during fastn parsing. Okay. But yeah, there's no real answer solution here. The thing is, we can also use this, and here it looks like we are using the SQL comment, but this is actually fasten line. So in fasten we use data for some other reason. In SQL we use it for a different reason. So there are two ways to comment it. One way is to do that. If we do it, then fasten will ignore this dash dash, and this it will get rid of this backslash, and SQL will receive this non backslashed uh, message. So whichever we like. I think I like this better. Okay. What else do we need? We need the concept. And it doesn't have a foreign key. So concept is just a URL. So let's just call it concept URL. Text not null. Right. So this is the concept. Perfect. So we have the user concept table, and the most important bit that we are storing in that is the status, right? And so status is a text which is not null, and check status is in the three status that we have decided for ourselves are over here, right? So new scene done. No, I don't know if this fellow. Let's see. Okay, looks like this might be a valid SQLite. We'll find that out very soon. So the most important thing to note is key because we are modifying an existing migration, which you're not supposed to do that, but we are doing it because obviously the original migration was wrong. So we are going to basically do one thing: delete this db.sqlite and run fastn again. Okay. And this time you will notice, okay, migration failed. Okay, so this semicolon is going to, it's very interesting. Semicolon is a comment. Why did the comment go to that guy? Anyways, whatever the reason be, let's just get rid of the comments for now. Let's see what happens. So yeah, so finally it applied the update app. Why is it called update app? Are we calling it updated somewhere? It's called let's teach. Odd. Why was this function called? Oh, update app. Okay. Let's see. Migration failed. Near S colon. My God. Oh yeah. Damn. This is a big issue that we have discovered. What's this? Okay. What do you want? Can you just tell me what do you want in one sentence? You have okay. Okay, ठीक है, I'll do it. I'll do it today. Yeah. Okay. So this is one issue, and we definitely found other one. Comments, fast in comments in skill migration. ठीक है. So we are done with our two bugs that we have filed. So yeah, so basically we are saying for every user, for every concept, we have a single field, and obviously we can store a lot of other data about this. So let's create that table also. Create table. If not exist, let's teach user concept event. Okay. Let's see what has this AI done for us. Concept ID, we don't need concept ID, we need concept URL. And we need to get rid of these fellows for now. And then what do we need? Event type, event timestamp, we prefer this. Okay. And we need, so the type of the event is very, yeah, it should be null, and let's also store event data just in case we want to store some event data like some JSON basically. So we will have events like red and so on. So let me rm, and let's run this guy to make sure our migrations are working fine, and seems that they are not. And the problem is unknown, like message near this extra comma. Perfect. So now we have our table database in the database, right? So let's do some cleanup. And this is the way I like things. Yeah. These two combined are like the primary key for this table and this table and so on, even though we have a primary key ID. And actually, one thing we can do is put this as a foreign key. Yeah, that will guarantee that we have to have this row, and this is there any real advantage when we get the foreign key constraint? But what for? So basically I'm discussing we can create a foreign key user Oh yeah, we have to put the foreign key constraints. We have not added the foreign key constraints to our table. So let's look at how do you do that. Have we done it in this one? No, it must be in this place. Okay, okay. Over here. This is how you put the foreign key. So over here we have good this thing. Do we want to put a comma here? We'll have to put a comma here. And of course we need a foreign key, and then we need a foreign key for the no this guy doesn't have a foreign key, right? So that's this is one way to model it. The other way to model it is that we put a foreign key on the UCID. Let's just call it UCID, integer not null, and then we'll put the UCID over here, and then we'll put this table over here and this. Right. So let me. What the fuck is wrong with my ID? I can't do undo. Let me just show you the two versions. Fuck. Ah, life is horrible without undo. So let's say this is a version 1, in which case the foreign key is over here, and this is a version 2, in which case yeah. So it shouldn't do be like. I'm kind of liking this one for the simple reason that I don't. This foreign key UCID doesn't tell me anything interesting. So I feel like I don't know. It's totally arbitrary. I can't really decide one is better than other right now. So because of my personal bias, for some reason I'm liking this. So therefore I'm going to go with this, and I'm not going to go with this. Okay, so we have added the foreign key also. Okay, let's see if our statements are correct. We'll do by removing the SQLite file and recreating the migration. Perfect. So our migration worked. Let's teach and let's auth. There's another interesting nest that we should do something about. Key looks like we are applying the let's auth migration after let's teach migration, and which means it looks like we are following the order over here. Let's verify that. So if I delete these migration table and redo it, it will apply the auth first and then teach. Now the question is, can we run this statement right without the table existing? Because the time when the this because we are applying the migration in one order, we have to also worry about what is the order of things, right? So should we rely on the order based on its here? One thing we have seen is the order doesn't matter at the least from the migration point of view. Mm, something to think about. Okay, so we have the migration, and I'm kind of happy with the migration, so I'm going to just. Hmm. Hmm. So I'm not going to comment this line. I'll just comment the let's teach and teach template. Okay, let commit minus m migration. Initial migration. Kind of happy with it. Okay, now so we coming back to this fellow. Now I was saying ki this is not a brilliant idea, right? To do this inside a loop, because if inside this statement we are making an SQL call to fix the status, we will be doing n number of SQL calls. Now, having said that, because we are using SQLite and SQLite doesn't really mind too much, right? Key if you're doing n number of queries because it's fast. The data is probably loaded in memory in this memory of the same process, so it's pretty generally fast. So usually you worry about the n query problem or n plus one query problem in what is called in other databases, but not in SQLite. But tomorrow we might just want this let's teach app to work if we are using PostgreSQL also. So in general, this is not a good idea. So we'll get rid of this and for now, and we'll create a function called fix status, and it will take TOC. Yeah, let's take this and let's call this guy fix. Yeah. Now, what do we do? No, we need the user ID. So the first thing we need is user ID. So this fellow should only do its job when the user ID is there. If the user ID is not there, it should not do anything at all, right? Because ultimately the status depends on user. And if we go and look at the code for reading the user ID, which is user data, and this is how we are fetching the user data. So let me copy paste this guy only and we'll try to understand this code. And I'm going to put it here. Maybe me. I am adding a chrono dependency. I think I need chrono. I think I64 should also work because, and we definitely need to put HTTP and we need to add HTTP over here. Yeah, do we have two? No, we have one only, so we'll just use one. So now why is it complaining? What over here is a problem? This is a problem. Let's put chrono here. So we had chrono. Let's sort these lines. Okie and what we have to do here is we need, or here we are. So this has to be chrono something. Okay, so now our code guy, this guy should become fine. So we don't need this is admin field. This logic is kind of incorrect any which ways, and we'll get rid of this. Right, so although the cargo FMT just because my editor has definitely gone crazy. No difference. Okay. So obviously we need database connection. So you can argue this is how you get the database connection. Now, because this guy needs a database connection, we could have gotten this, written this statement. So, so user may or may not be logged in, and so therefore this is captured by this may be me. And in my live, I like to give each fellow a name. So because this is my this thing, I prefer giving it a proper name to create. I don't like using the create alias. So okay, I will use backend. Great. This is also one option because the name of the crate is backend. We will use this backend. And now we need not just that, we also need maybe me as backend. Okay. Let's see if it, yeah. Now maybe me I need, good point. How do we use it? So there are actually two ways to get maybe me. One is this. Uh, this is a form, maybe back in my source. Let's see if it works. It looks like it is compiling. So what we want to do is, if maybe me.ud is none, we do we don't want to return an error. We just want to return the data back to this guy. So we don't want to do anything basically. And this is not a great pattern because now you'll have to do something else. So we will do match here. Match on this, and this will become let ud is equal to, and then we'll say this can be some ud. In some ud case we'll put ud, in none case none, we will do this return business. And here, so now we will have, we'll see. So this guy will need database action connection also, so we'll have to pass ud and maybe me. Can I do this? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Actually, the simplest thing would be to just get the ID because I only need the ID, and which itself is perfect. So the reason I'm doing it because I don't want to clone the UD object, and if I take a reference, and because I will have to pass this guy and the reference, so it just becomes, so user ID, which is I64 for some reason, and then actually only need the connection because I need to execute SQL query. And do I need the current time? Because this guy gives us the current time also. Do I need the current time? We'll see. For now, I need connection, so I will just use application. And this guy needs a mutable connection. So, so we will pass it as a mute. Let's see. And I will do this in two places and then add mute dot con, right? What is wrong? This is not mute, so I have to put it as mute. Okay. So things look kind of not too bad. Now obviously this loop is incorrect, so we'll leave this as to do and put everything as a underscore. So basically the approach we want to do use is in one query we find out the list of concept URLs, and in one SQL before we write the SQL, let's say this is what I want to do. I'll do one thing. I'll do clone to get a string, right? So because I wanted to get a not worry about the lifetime, so I'll just do a clone. SRF might work. Uh, I just hate this. Hmm, forget. We'll start with clone. Oh, oh no. Using as ref. Let's see which one works. And do I want to collect them as a hash set or just a vec? Let's collect them as a vec. Why? A hash set, the difference is obviously we will duplicates will go away. So should we expect duplicates here? Let's pretend that we are doing smart things. The TOC shouldn't contain duplicates. Uh, like why not? Like basically, because the system keeps track, it might make sense for like for example, if you've written chapter one and chapter seven, both covers uh, something, and both of them where there is a dependency, the concept is needed. So let's say you need to know about what is let's say malloc in chapter one, and also you need to know malloc in chapter seven. Now we can, and if the person for some reason only needed chapter 7, so putting the malloc related thing entry in the chapter 1 and 7 both kind of helps the learner. I mean, what's the harm? And it doesn't hurt because you won't have to read it twice because obviously you'll not click on it. You'll see it once you mark it as done in chapter 1. Both chapter 1 and chapter 7 will say that this is done. So let's do that. Let's do hash set and we'll see. Okay, now what do we have to do? Let's let's see where the code is right now. So concept URLs is unused, which is fine. We'll do this. This is also a good suggestion. Mute of an array of entry, slice of entry, it doesn't matter. Okay, perfect. So we are in good shape. Now, what do we have to do? We have to fetch, we have to do a query in our database, right? So, how do we do that? So, first we go to our schema, we create a schema. So, we are going to create a schema and mhm, so let's create a schema file. Technically, we can auto generate the schema file, but you know, whatever. We are not going to do that right now. I don't know why am I doing pub. What is this guy complaining about? He's complaining about the diesel is not here. So we are going to add diesel here, and diesel is going to be here. Perfect. And we have to put the diesel in our this file. So we'll put diesel in this file and chrono after chrono we'll put diesel. Okay, okay. So now schema should kind of now obviously we don't have this table, so our table is called the name of the table is in our over here. So we will put this table over here. Oops. Why can't I copy? Copy. Okie dokie. And now we need user ID, which is also a big int. And then we need concept URL, which is a text, status, which is a text, created and updated at. Perfect. Let's do our clippy. So far things are not horribly broken. Let's go and add the other one also. This one is called let user concept event, I think. Mm, user concept underscore event. And I think, oh, we can't do this. You have to put it inside the table. Okay. And now, I have no idea why it is still red. But user ID concept, event type, event data, created at. Okay, so we don't have updated at, events never get updated. Instead of status, we are going to have two fields here, event type and event data. Maybe we can make event data nullable, but let's say it's not nullable. Who cares? Yeah, looks fine to me now. Okie dokie. I'll just do a comment here. Lots of stuff. Okie dokie. So, where are we? Two files are modified. Okay, so we got the concept URLs. Now we have to do a select call to fetch the value of scene, right? So let's see how do you do a select call in Diesel. So we will get in the DB we have this list. Okie dokie. Something like this. Okie dokie. So you have to do something like this over here. Now we have to fix everything. So what do you want? First of all, we want to use our table. So which is, if you look at it, we have done a use statement. So the use statement are these two. So because we want to make these diesel calls, we have to use the prelude, and in our schema we have to find out this. We are going to do it on this table, so we are going to have to use this and use this. So far so good. Now we have to fix all of these. So for now we will create a single, so we have to create a type. So let's create a type. We'll call it, what do we call it? Schema. Let's be funny and let's put it here only. Who cares? So we need a queryable slash selectable thing. Table name is going to be backend schema and this guy, and we are going to ensure that this is SQLite backend. What do we call it? This should be called, uh, let's call it UC. Okay, so we'll get the user ID. We will need the user ID. So we'll do it in the order, and then we need the concept URL, and then we need the status. Now the question is, should the status be a string or should it be our own type? Ideally, it should be our own type, but we will see. So for now, we are going to do this, and let's put expect unused here because in the beginning we are not going to use all the fields. So let's see if our clippy fellow is still happy, and it is not because of some of the screw up that we have done here. So we'll say schema, and this would be called UC as select. Now limit is, we don't need any limit in this case. Yes, filter is this guy, and concept URL should be inside. Right, so concept URL in, what do we call it? In, no, uh, how do we say? Uh, how do we say exist? How do we say? Do we have anything which? Mm, mhm, mhm. Let's say order by kind of. Does order by matter? Yeah, can't. So so we have to have a filter clause here, and connection is here. Let's see. Till now, it is not returning anything, so we have to return ft as the result of this. Concept URLs. For now, let this guy be underscore, and let's verify our code is compiling, etc. Just kind of compiling, etc. So we have to do fix status and question mark, and let's see, is everything good? Expect unused. Okay, all the fields are public, so they are obviously used. Okay, okay. So where are we? So we have to do this query, and we have to figure out. Let's ask Mr. Copilot, GitHub Copilot chat and GitHub Copilot. Okay, can I do refresh? Mhm. I have to just use chat. Let's see if it is smart enough. So it's saying filter EQNE. Okay, perfect. So I had to use EQNE. So I will use this line. Key okay. Perfect. So we've gotten all. What all have we gotten? So we've gotten all the objects, right? So we'll call it let. What do we return it in? So it will be entry, right? So no, we called it UC, right? So UC list is equal to. Let's see, it's unused. So we'll fix it. Now we can go through our entries. In the entry, we will find UC list. So the UC list, we can transform the UC list and create a map out of it. So what we need is a map of the concept URL to the status, right? So because we'll be going through each entry, so basically we are going to do for entry in TOC. Yeah, so you see, this is a very problematic one. So before we do that, let's say, oh, thank you. You just read my mind, my friend. Okie dokie. I have consumed this. Perfect. Now I can do this. Let's see. For entry in TOC, if let some concept is equal to entry the concept, perfect. Else entry dot status is equal to none. Uh, so this all looks kind of all right. Let's do this as the first version. So the status is over here only, so we don't need this fellow, I think. And match status, it's a string. So we can do this. Status dot as str. This is one thing we can do. Done. Right. So now the problem here is obviously there's an unknown one. Let's do one thing. I will just treat everything as new. Let's pretend this is fine. So we are basically saying seen and done are interesting. Anything else is just new. Just doesn't go from new. Now, first of all, we don't need this. It should remain. Status should remain. Yeah, actually, we had one other option of handling this by saying some, some, and we can put none. That's another way of handling this. Mm, How do we feel about this line? I think this is perfectly fine. Let's get rid of this to do. So we can live with this. Uh, what's the problem? Oh, I have to return an okay. Okay. So one first, let's verify things are compiling. They are. Now, one thing we can do is obviously abstract out this match statement and put it inside an IMPL on top of this new block. So one thing that we are not happy yet so far is this underscore handling. So this is always a big problem whenever you're storing status like field. basically a field which has a finite number of this thing. Like because of this statement, one can argue, one can say, "Hey, I already put this check." So because of this check, it should be impossible for us to have anything other than these three values. Right? It is a not null column. So this ideally should be not none, but should be impossible. Impossible is not there. Unreachable. Yeah, should be unreachable. I want a crash basically if this violation ever, if this thing ever is not happening. So in that case, we can move this guy over here until, and we can implement the from, and it has already done the bulk of the job, so we can just implement. Hmm, let's see. Okay, so we have the implementation now. So how do we check if anything is working or not? So this is being almost an hour long session. So let's take a pause here. Let's compile it. Let's make sure that it works. And which we'll do here and call this. Perfect. So it is still working. Obviously, in this case, SID none. So we can say user not logged in, returning none. We can just put that. FTLGK print no returning without status. Perfect. So this is a good thing. Obviously, we should have support level based tracing like logging so that we can selectively do stuff. So no returning TOC perfectly. If so, we'll in the next session we'll see how the this whole user data is found or not found, and then we will take this data and show it in the UI. We are very close to kind of done with the first version actually. So hopefully in one or two sessions we should be able to have something which we can use. Okay, cool. Git minus git minus cached. And what all have we done? Let me do cargo FMT also. Mm, okay, so we have, what have we done? In populate TOC, we have added a print statement. We have called our, yeah, we have added this question mark. Then we have added the from str for the status fellow. And then we have, oh yeah, we have done the query wrong. Let me fix the query. So user ID should also be used. We want to see the, perfect. So user ID match also. Let me do a clippy. Perfect. Add minus u diff cached. So what are we seeing? From str is good. uh, TOC iter. Mhm. EQNE on a hash map worked. This is brilliant. I was wondering if hash set worked. Sorry, we'll have to convert it. So this is the meat of what we are doing. And then what's the order in which we should do this query? Yeah, that's another call. I would prefer doing it in this order. Why? Because we should index this field. So because it's a foreign key, it kind of already automatically gets indexed. We have to verify that fact. User ID is mentioned as a foreign key. Concept URL is not indexed, so we should index this. So SQLite indexed. Let's see, how do we create index? In the create table. Create index is not what I want. I want create table with index. Let's see. Inside the create table, do we see anywhere index? Okay, index column. Create table, create index. We don't want that. Oh, it seems. Let's see. Index column. Go on, bata do bhai. Index column. Column name, expert collect collection name. No. So I think we will have to just use create index. Create unique index. We don't want create unique index. So we need create index documentation now. Create index. Okay, create index is what we should do. Create index, and it's over here. Create unique. I don't want unique index on name of the index, right? So the name of the index should be the idx underscore table name underscore column name, which is concept URL on. This is the name of the table, and this is the name of the column. Perfect. And do we want to create an index on this? I mean, do we want to do a query on this? I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll be definitely doing group by, etc. So we may not need it for product reasons, but we might need it for analytics reasons. So we'll create a new index called status. Okie dokie. Let's see. RMDB dot and then run build statement, and now is our migration still working? It is indeed brilliant to Maximus. So we are going to do that. Div, what all have you added? Okay. And minus new. Let's just for the final this thing. We have added a print statement. We have added a question mark. We have added a from MPL, and then we have added implemented a fixed status function. This is fine. We do filter user ID concept URL, and then I mean there's a hack we can do to fetch less data, right? So I'll just do it because it's cool. So what I'm going to do is, see here we are fetching a bunch of data from the database, and if we can reduce the amount of data that we are fetching, if we reduce this loop etc. Right? So all in all, everything is good, right? This map would be smaller and so forth, right? And because we already have a logic that if something is not found, right, we treat it as new, right? So look at this, right? If something is found, then we use that. But if it is not found, we use it as new. So let's not fetch the new. And new is what you will most of the time have in the database also, right? So it will actually reduce most of the rows. And we have the index, so it will also, be there. Status not equal to new. Yeah. So now that we have these indexes, both of them are indexed, so it is good idea to probably consider using them in the queries. So status not equal to new. So we are ignoring all the new ones, and this loop will then keep on working for this guy. Okay, let me see. Get div. I just did one line. Okay, and we are going to call it a day. What are we calling it? Implemented fixed status untested. Perfect. Let me just verify once everything is working correctly. I'll remove the DB also. Okay, okay. So it's now taking longer to compile. If you notice, earlier it used to compile much faster, and it's because of diesel. So I think another thing, interesting thing for us to would be to see the size of the wasm file. So let's teach backend .wasm file. So it's still not too bad, 427K only, and we are going to. There's another thing called wasm C, which is what we support, which will forget it. Let's not go there. So yeah, it appears that everything is working fine. Let me do the curl also, and things are still working fine. Okay, guys, I think this is a good time for us to stop. See you later.